We were discussing postulates of quantum mechanics. In fact, we have gone through a brief introduction regarding the postulates of quantum mechanics, and in that brief introduction, we have studied that quantum mechanical theories are actually framed on the basis of some postulates, and those postulates have no theoretical proof, but they are just outcome of the experimental observations, and so these postulates have only indirect proof. Since the theories developed on the basis of these postulates are valid experimentally, so we say that the postulates are valid, and these experimental validity actually validates or justifies the quantum mechanical postulates. Now, today we are going to discuss the postulates of quantum mechanics in detail. In this first lecture, we will see the first postulate of the quantum mechanics, and you should know this lecture will not deal completely the first postulate, but this is only the first part to deal with the first postulate of quantum mechanics. In fact, I have divided the lecture on first postulate in two parts, and this is just the first part of the lecture on first postulate. And then after this first part, we will see the second part of this first postulate. In fact, we will explain this postulate in very detail, and we will also see some of the numerical problems that are asked in different competitive examinations. And so I am not giving you just an information regarding the postulate, but we will discuss in very detail, and so that we will be able to solve any problem based on these postulates. So let us start to discuss with the first postulate of quantum mechanics. Actually, this first postulate of quantum mechanics is regarding the state of a system. And what this first postulate actually states. According to first postulate of quantum mechanics, the state of any physical system, is specified at each time t by a state vector ket psi of t in a Hilbert space. And this ket psi of t, that is the state vector ket psi of t, contains all the information we need to know about the system, and we can calculate all needed quantities from it. This is the first and basic postulate of quantum mechanics, that which actually states that the state of a physical system can be described in terms of a state vector which is denoted by ket psi of t, and this state vector is actually a vector of a Hilbert space H. And this state vector ket psi of t actually contains all the informations regarding your quantum mechanical system, and once we know this ket psi of t, that is the state vector, then we will be able to calculate all the quantities related to the state of the system. Now, in fact, this state vector ket psi of 2 has two representations in quantum mechanics. Actually, in the previous chapter, when we were dealing with the mathematical formalism of quantum mechanics, these facts have been already discussed. So, just I am repeating this fact, that the state vector has two representations. Actually, the first representation of the state vector k psi of t is actually its position representation. And in position representation, actually this state vector is represented as a wave function. You should know a state vector is represented as a wave function denoted by the symbol psi of rt, and this representation is actually in position space. And this psi of rt, which is actually the wave function in position space, is in fact psi of rt equal to bra r ket psi of t. And its another representation is as a momentum wave function, and this momentum wave function is represented by psi of pt. See the difference. Here I have written a small psi, and here it is actually capital psi, psi of pt. And this representation is actually in momentum space. So this momentum wave function represented by the symbol psi of pt is defined as bra p ket psi t. It means this is just a projection of the momentum vector along the state vector psi of t. Now we will consider the position representation of the wave function, and in for simplicity I am taking here only the one-dimensional wave function, and this one-dimensional wave function is psi of xt. And you know this psi of xt in one dimension will represent the state of a physical system. And since this psi of xt represents the state of a physical system, and the state cannot be imaginary, it cannot be actually virtual, but it must be physically acceptable, it must be realistic. Although in quantum mechanics we also deal with, or we also say about the physically unacceptable state, but in actual practice, or you can say experimentally, only those states will be acceptable which has physical reality. And so all the functions of x and t, or psi of x and t, cannot be a physically acceptable wave function, or actually a wave function for a realistic situation has to satisfy some of the important conditions. Actually there are three important basic conditions which must be satisfied by psi of xt to be a valid wave function. This fact has been also discussed in the previous chapter. And so now let us see what are the physical conditions which must be satisfied by psi of xt to be a valid wave function. And remember one thing, when this psi of xt will satisfy all those three conditions, only then you can say that psi of xt is a valid wave function and it can deal with a realistic physical situation. And what are those physical conditions? These conditions are, first one is psi of x and its derivative, or you can say d psi of dx. This must be single valued and finite for all values of x. This is very remarkable, that for any value of x, psi of x or d psi of dx cannot be infinity, it must be finite. And for a given value of x, psi of x and d psi by dx must have one and only one value, because as we have seen in the Born's interpretation of wave function, that if psi of x will be multi-valued function, then for a given value of x there will be different probability of finding of the system in same state, but that is physically unacceptable. So for the validity of the wave function, or for a single value of probability of finding of particle at a given position x equal to x, there must be one and only one value of psi of x and its first order derivative d psi by dx. So this is the first condition. for the validity of the wave function, that psi of x and d psi by dx must be single valued and finite for every value of x. The another condition which must be satisfied by a wave function of realistic situation is that psi x and d psi by dx must be continuous. If psi of x and d psi by dx is actually not continuous but discontinuous, in that condition such a wave function will not represent a realistic situation, and that will be an unacceptable wave function, or in other words, in simple words, you can say that function is not a valid wave function. Now the third and the most important condition for a wave function for realistic situation is that this psi of x must be a square integrable. When you say that psi of x is a square integrable, what does it mean? It means the integral for all space, that is for all values of x, that is for x running from minus infinity to plus infinity, the integral of mod of x square must be finite. When you say mod of x square, what does it mean? Since this psi of x may be in fact a complex quantity, so this means psi star of x times psi of x, where this psi star of x is actually the complex conjugate of psi of x. So these are the three conditions for psi of x to be a valid wave function, and if all these three conditions are satisfied by the wave function, then actually this will be a state vector of the Hilbert space H, and in that condition you can say such a function will actually describe the state of a physical system, and knowing that very function psi of x in one dimension, I am talking about one dimension only here, we can calculate all the related quantities. Now actually the second part of the first postulate is the principle of superposition. We will see that not only psi of x but a linear combination of psi of x is also a valid wave function and also a state vector. But before going to know the superposition principle stated in the first postulate of quantum mechanics, I would like to illustrate these facts, that is how we can actually found that a given function is a state function or a valid wave function, or it deals with a realistic physical situation. First of all, I want to illustrate this fact in detail, because in various examination you will see that there is a certain type of problem in which you are given some function and you have to test that the given function is either a valid wave function or it is not a valid wave function. So how we can solve such problems? Actually, for solving such problems, you have to test these three conditions satisfied by a wave function for a realistic situation. And you should know, if all these three physical conditions will be satisfied by the given wave function, then you can say that such a wave function is a wave function for a realistic situation, or that is a valid wave function. But if any one of the at least any one of the conditions mentioned here among these three is not satisfied by the given function, then you must say that that function is not a valid wave function, and such a function cannot deal with the real physical situation or a realistic physical situation. So to solve such problems, I am just giving two simple examples, and you should know after solving these examples how we can solve such problems. So let us take the first example. In first example, actually we will test that Dirac delta function. Actually in quantum mechanics you find at various times the use of Dirac delta function as a wave function and as a state vector. So first of all we should know that Dirac delta function is a realistic wave function or not. Actually Dirac delta function is not a realistic wave function. But how? We have to explain in this example how you can say that Dirac delta function is not a realistic wave function, but it is unrealistic. So let us solve this problem. So we know how Dirac delta function is defined. As I have told you, for simplicity, I am considering here only the one-dimensional wave function to illustrate the concept of first postulate. So let us first of all define the Dirac delta function in one dimension, and after that we will test that either this function is a realistic wave function or not. The result, you know, it is not a realistic wave function, but how we can say that it is not a realistic wave function? Let us see here. So in one dimension, Dirac delta function centered about x equal to x naught. For general definition, we consider x equal to x naught. You can also take x equal to 0. So in one dimension, Dirac delta function centered about x equal to x naught is denoted by this function centered about x equal to x naught is denoted as delta x minus x naught, and it is defined as, how this function is defined? It is defined as, you have definitely studied about Dirac delta function. So this is delta x minus x naught is equal to 0 if x is not equal to x naught, and this equals infinity if x is equal to x naught. This is the basic definition. But one thing you should note here, that when you say delta x minus x naught is infinity when x is equal to x naught, actually this is not a concrete definition, or it does not give the complete information regarding the delta function, because you know this infinity is not a definite number, because you know that a non-ending series, let us say 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus so on, this equal to infinity. And at the same time, if we take 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus so on, this is also equal to infinity. But you can, if you will compare these two non-ending series or infinite series term by term, that is not identical, but actually the sum of this non-ending series is infinity in both cases. So you can say that when we say that delta function is infinity when x is equal to x naught, this does not give a proper or a physically acceptable fact. So actually we can define this delta function when we will actually consider another important fact regarding this. So this definition will be valid only when another condition is satisfied. So you can say equation 1 defines delta function when the condition integral minus infinity to plus infinity delta x minus x naught dx is equal to 1. Actually, what does this integral actually states? You can see, if we consider the graphical plot of the delta function, so we can see its graphical plot. We note on x-axis the value of x and on y-axis the value of delta x minus x naught. Then as we know, when x is not equal to x naught, let us say this is the point where x is equal to x naught. So you can see this delta function will be 0 when x is not equal to x naught, and when x is equal to x naught, it abruptly rises, its value is infinity, and suddenly when we departure from this x equal to x naught, it suddenly falls to 0. So this delta function just appears as a high peak as shown in this figure. And when you see this equation 2, that the integral of this delta function for all values of x from minus infinity to plus infinity, it turns out to be 1. What does it mean? It means the area under this delta function is actually equal to 1. So this equation 1 defines delta function only when this condition defined in equation 2 will be valid. This is the basic definition of the delta function, and now our aim in this problem is to discuss that this delta function is a valid wave function or not a valid wave function. Let us say the wave function is defined in this manner, that psi of x at a given time is equal to an arbitrary constant a and delta x minus x naught. Let us say our wave function is of this form. Does this wave function is actually a valid wave function? Does it represent a realistic physical situation? We will test. As I have told you, whenever you have given a wave function and you have to test that it is a valid wave function or not, we simply test all those three conditions which just I have mentioned for a valid wave function. So let us now test step by step all the physical conditions which is needed for validity of a wave function separately. The first condition, you have just now seen that the first condition for a valid wave function is what? That is, actually this wave function should be finite everywhere. So if this psi of x is a valid wave function, then psi of x should be finite for all x. And if psi of x is finite everywhere or for all x, you can see from here that this delta x minus x naught should be finite for all values of x, finite for all x. But as from definition given in equation 1, you see that our delta function is not finite everywhere. Actually, this delta function delta x minus x naught is in fact undefined or infinity at x equal to x naught. So there is a point x equal to x naught where it is not finite. So you can say that the first condition is not satisfied by the delta function, and there is a dot that and as I have told you, if any one of the conditions for the validity of wave function is not satisfied, then you can say that this is not a wave function for a realistic situation. So as this delta function does not satisfy the first condition, and so it cannot be a valid wave function, or it cannot deal with a realistic physical situation. Now let us see that the second condition for the valid wave function is either satisfied by this delta function or not. As you have seen that the second condition is what? The second condition is condition for continuity, that a valid wave function this psi of x must be continuous, and its first order derivative should also be continuous. So this delta x minus x naught should be continuous for its validity. But what you have seen in the definition, you can see this figure, this wave function is 0 for all values of x till now x becomes x naught. But when x is equal to x naught, it abruptly rises to infinity, and just when we departure from this value of x equal to x naught, or x increases from x naught, it suddenly falls to 0. So you can say that this function is not continuous, but it is highly discontinuous, since it jumps suddenly from 0 to infinity at x equal to x naught. So this is not continuous. So as delta x minus x naught jumps from 0 to infinity, or you can say infinity to 0 at x equal to x naught. So it is highly discontinuous. And you will also see, I will discuss some at later time, that the first order derivative, that is, you can say delta prime of x minus x naught, this is first order derivative of delta function, this is also discontinuous, but in accordance with Dirac's statement that its first order derivative is more discontinuous than this delta function itself. So you can say that the delta function is not a continuous function, it is discontinuous at x equal to x naught, and its first order derivative delta prime x minus x naught is also discontinuous. And so the second condition for the validity of a wave function is also not satisfied by this delta function. Now you can see either the third condition of a square integrability is satisfied by this delta function or not. You can see that this condition is also not satisfied by the delta function. The third condition is what? This is that the integral minus infinity to plus infinity mod of x square dx, this should be finite. But actually this integral is not finite if this psi of x is equal to the delta function, but integral minus infinity to plus infinity delta x minus x naught square dx. There is no need to take here modulus because this delta function is not a complex function, and so we have only taken its simple square, and actually this integral turns out to be infinity, and so it is not finite, and hence we can say that any of the three conditions for a valid wave function is not satisfied by this Dirac delta function, and so we can say that Dirac delta function is not a function describing the real physical situation, and hence it is not a realistic wave function. So you can say, so this delta x minus x naught does not satisfy any of the condition for a valid wave function, and hence it does not represent a realistic wave function. A realistic wave function. Now let us take another example to illustrate this important fact, that is the validity of the wave function. We will take another example. So in this another example, let us check. I am just writing it in question form, that check if the following function can be a wave function for a realistic state of a particle. And what is that wave function? The given wave function is psi of x equal to a. Here a is actually an arbitrary constant, e to the power minus x over a, and this is for x greater than 0, and this equal to minus a e to the power plus x over a, and this is for x less than 0. So this is the given wave function, and we have to test that this given wave function is in fact a real wave function, or you can say that this wave function is represents a realistic state of the particle or not. We have to check it. For solving this problem, let us first plot this function psi of x. So you can see the graphical plot of this wave function here. Here I am noting the value of x on x-axis and this psi of x on this y-axis. You can see the form when actually this x is greater than 0, that is x is positive, then psi of x is equal to a e to the power minus x over a. You can see when x is equal to 0, then this psi of x is equal to plus a for x greater than 0, and this psi of x is equal to minus a for x less than 0. You can see. And when x actually increases in positive direction, then this psi of x, you can say, will exponentially decrease. And when actually this x will tend to 0, x will actually tend to plus minus infinity, then this psi of x will tend to 0. In fact, when x is greater than 0, then this psi of x will tend to 0 when x tend to plus infinity, because here is minus sign. And when x is less than 0, then this psi of x will tend to 0 when x actually tends to minus infinity. So you can see the graphical plot. Here the value of psi of x is a, and it exponentially decreases, and it will become 0 when x will be plus infinity. And in the region less than x equal to 0, you can see the graphical plot will be like this, and this is like this. This plot is like this, and here there is minus a, psi of x is minus a. So what you can see from this figure. So now after plotting this function, we will check each and every condition which must be satisfied for a valid wave function, to check the validity of this given wave function. So let us start to check with all the conditions. The first condition is that the given wave function is finite everywhere or not. So you can see this psi of x is actually finite for all x. You can see when actually x is 0, you can see that this psi of x is equal to plus a for x greater than 0 and minus a for x less than 0. This is a finite value of psi of x. And when x actually increases, let us say x is this much, x is this much, x is this much, you can see that this psi of x has a finite value. Here psi of x will have this value, here psi of x will have this value. In similar manner, you can see that this psi of x has finite value up to when x tends to plus minus infinity. So first condition of finite value for the of a given function is actually validates, and we find that the given function has a finite value for all values of x. Now we will test the second condition, that is the given function is either a square integrable or not. So let us to test this, let us find the integral of the square of this given function for all values of x. So let us find it. integral minus infinity to plus infinity mod of psi of x square dx. And you can see this integral may be written in this manner. This is minus infinity to 0 mod of psi of x square dx and plus integral 0 to infinity mod of psi of x square dx. Now you can see that when x is greater than 0, then psi of x is a e to the power minus x by a, and when x is actually less than 0, then it is minus a e to the power x by a. So here we will substitute the value of psi of x to find this integral. So you can see that the mod psi of x square dx integral from minus infinity to plus infinity will be what? In the range of this limit minus infinity to 0, actually psi of x is given this much. Here actually this minus a is a constant factor, so you can take it outside of the integral, and when you will actually square it, so this will be in fact a square, and this is integral minus infinity to 0, and psi of x in this region is actually a e to the power plus x by a. So its square will be what? This will be e to the power 2x over a dx and plus. Now in the region when x is greater than in fact 0, then psi of x is a e to the power minus x by a. So it will be a square integral 0 to infinity and e to the power minus 2x by a dx. Now let us evaluate this integral. You can see this will be actually a square. We can actually take this a square as a common factor because it is present in both terms, and integral of e to the power 2x by a will be what? This is actually e to the power 2x over a over 2 by a, and this 2 by a can be written as a over 2, and the limit is minus infinity and 0. And now integral of e to the power minus 2x by a, this will be actually equal to minus a by 2 into e to the power minus 2x by a. So here will be actually minus sign, and this will be a by 2 and e to the power minus 2x by a, and limits are 0 and infinity. Now substitute the value of limits. So you can see this is a square and this a over 2 will be also taken as a common factor. So this is a over 2. Now put the limit when this will be actually e to the power 0 minus e to the power minus infinity, and here will be e to the power minus infinity and minus e to the power 0. So you can see this is a into a square over 2, and this is 1 minus 0 e to the power minus infinity 0 and minus 0 minus 1. So this will be 1 plus 1, that is 2, and that 2 will be cancelled out, and so this integral is a into a square. And you can see this is not undefined, but this is a finite quantity. So we can see that this given wave function is actually a square integrable. So the first two conditions for the validity of a wave function is satisfied by this given function. That is, you have seen that this function has a finite value for all values of x, and at the same time this is also actually a square integrable. Now the third condition, that is the condition for continuity, we will now discuss. So you can see from this graphical plot that when x is equal to 0, you can see here when x is equal to 0, then for the region x greater than 0, psi of x is equal to a. I have shown this value here in this figure. And when x is again 0 at the same point, then actually for the region x less than 0, it is minus a. And in this graph you can see this is the point where psi of x is minus a. So what you are seeing from this graph, you can see that actually this function is not continuous at x equal to 0. Since this function is equal to a at x equal to 0 for the expression for x greater than 0, and it is minus a at x equal to 0 for the expression for x less than 0. So that this condition of continuity is not satisfied by this function. I am just writing here this fact that this psi of x is equal to a at x equal to 0 for the expression for x greater than 0, and this psi of x is equal to minus a at x equal to 0 for the expression for x less than 0. So what you are seeing here, we see that actually this function psi of x defined in this problem is not continuous at x equal to 0. So psi of x is not continuous at x equal to 0. But for the validity of the wave function, this should be continuous everywhere. That is, for all values of x, it should be continuous. So you can see that this condition of continuity is not satisfied by the function psi of x defined in this problem. And as I have told you, that if at least any one of the conditions is not satisfied by the given wave function, that wave function will be not a valid wave function, and that cannot represent a realistic physical situation. So the function defined in this problem is not a valid wave function. Thus, psi of x is not a valid wave function. So this was actually the first part of the first postulate of quantum mechanics. Actually, in its second part, we will discuss a very important principle that is called superposition principle, and that principle is very useful in discussing or in framing the quantum mechanical theories and solving the quantum mechanical problems. So we will see the next part, that is the principle of superposition, in next part of this lecture.